The magical mystery of Czech numbers and their alliance with an American boxing hero, which led to the fall of one of the biggest empires the world has ever seen. In any language, you have to know your numbers, but this is the Czech language, so get ready for some surprises. The Czech language has 3 base words for number 1 and 2 base words for number 2. At the start of your life in the Czech Republic, you need to avoid saying the numbers 2 and 4 in public. If you are planning to go to a bar or pub in Czech Republic, try to go there with 2 friends or 4 friends or more than 4 friends. Avoid going to a pub or bar with 1 friend or 3 friends. Now, I was relatively new in Prague and I decided to go to a concert with a lady friend of mine, and before the main act arrived on stage we decided to have a few shots, get us in the dancing mood. We decided to order the local Czech favourite Slivovica. In English that's plum brandy. Now the Czech word for shot is panak and it's masculine, so the proper way to ask for 1 shot would be jeden panak, or 2 shots dva panaki. Of course, being a new person in Prague and new to the Czech language, I mixed up my genders in the most innocent way. I thought it was feminine, so instead of saying dva panaki, I said devie panaki, which in a busy, loud Czech pub to the Czech barman sounded, instead of devie 2, sounded like deviet 9. I ordered 9 shots. I had my back to the barman so I couldn't stop him pouring the shots. We had to drink them all. I'm Irish, and my friend, she's cheap too, so we weren't going to leave him behind or give him to other people. But I've got to admit, that night, the Czech Philharmonic never sounded sweeter. So also avoid going to the pub with 3 friends, because that will force you to order 4 beers and you'll have to use the Czech word for 4. This word is horrific to say, especially for the new learner of Czech. It's got too many hat checks and too many consonants, and for the new learner of Czech, when you say it in public, you just look threatening. Stíži, stíži. So now we come to the main magical mystery of Czech numbers, and the best way to explain this mystery is to make a comparison with English and choose an appropriate noun. For example, beer. I would like 1 beer, or 2 beers, or 3 beers, or if it's St. Patrick's Day, a lot of beers. This noun follows a logical pattern in English by making a plural by adding on an S to the end. I know English has some strange forms too, for example sheep, which has an irregular plural forms where we do not add on the S, but that's okay, we can make an exception for sheep. We say 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep, or St. Patrick's Day, a lot of sheep. Now it would be amazing for me, a foreign learner of Czech, especially an English-speaking one, if Czech followed the same kind of grammatical pattern for nouns. And the thing is, it kind of does, for numbers 1, 2, 3 and 4. For example, let's take the most important Czech noun there is, beer. The Czech word for beer is pivo. It's a neutral noun, so the way to say 1 beer would be jedno pivo. 2 beers, devie piva, 3 beers, 3 piva, 4, the dreaded styrži, styrži piva, and 5 beers, the way to say that is piet piv. Did you notice something? After 5, the noun word gets shorter. Yes, the number gets higher, the word gets smaller. Czech logic. Some grammar nerds will tell you that the reason for this change is because Slavic languages, Czech included, view the numbers 2 to 4 in a different way to numbers 5 and above. That 2 to 4 is seen as a few and 5 and above is seen as a bigger group. I don't like that idea. I have a different theory. I believe the real reason for this change is because of this man, Charles IV. The Czech people have a really great sense of humour. They can laugh about anything. They can laugh about themselves, they can laugh about their food, their culture, service in restaurants. But one thing you do not joke about in this country, and that's Charles IV, Karol Styrži. Even if you don't plan to live in the Czech Republic, if you only plan to visit Prague for 2 days, you better know who this guy is. He's all over the place. He's all over Prague. The most famous bridge is named after him. The biggest square of the town is named after him. A prestigious university after him. I would need a 3-hour YouTube video just to explain the achievements of this man. And I believe that the Czech people so loved and revered this guy, they only went and changed the language for him. Well anyway, whatever the reason for this change, for the new learner of Czech, it's a real pain in the neck. And unfortunately, it gets worse. I mean, going back to our first example of this change, pivo, beer. And for me, beer's alright. Pivo is okay. I like beer. At least it follows some kind of logical pattern. It has the same root word. This is something we can work with. We can learn this. However, sometimes the plural noun word after 5 doesn't share the same root as for numbers 1 to 4. Let's take an extremely common word. The word is year. The Czech word for year is rok. It's masculine, so 1 year is jeden rok. 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4 roky. And then 5, 5 let. The Czech language has decided for 5 or more years to change the word completely. It's 100% different. Now I could go on and complain about how this makes life of people learning Czech learners so difficult, so annoying. But I do believe that this specific noun change and a very famous boxing movie combined to bring down the fall of one of the biggest empires the world has ever seen. The empire of the Soviet Union, the boxing movie Rocky IV. Are you starting to see the connection? Rocky IV, Charles IV, grammar change in Czech between the numbers 4 and 5. I'm starting to believe, that the number 4 has some kind of magical power in the Czech language and Czech society at large. Anyone familiar with the boxing movie Rocky IV knows that the final bout takes place in Moscow in front of all the top brass of the Communist Party. Rocky takes the victory over the Russian-Swedish hero Ivan Drago. Who will ever forget this pulsating, thoroughly realistic boxing match where Rocky wins over the local Russian crowd by repeatedly taking hammer blows to the head? Despite the obvious concussion, Rocky, after the fight, probably gives one of the most important political speeches in the history of the world.
If I can change, and you can change, everybody can change. Каждый может измениться.
Rocky IV was released in November 1985, exactly 4 years before the Velvet Revolution in November 1989. There's another connection with the number 4. I'm not a numerologist, you can count on that. But these connections are becoming way too big to ignore. In reality, I have read that the communist leaders at the time were big fans of the Rocky movies, and Rocky's speech at the end of Rocky IV really inspired them to self-reflect while they waited patiently for the 5th movie in the Rocky franchise, fully expecting it to be called Let 5. Now my theories are probably not 100% accurate, I know that, I admit that. But if you're an adult learner of the Czech language, you really do need to keep a sense of humour. Because sometimes, actually often, it does feel like the Czech language has only one attitude to a new Czech student.
I must break you.
If you're interested in the kind of topics I've discussed in this video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more similar videos.